So our story starts like most fairy tales.
We met at a bar. We are getting married.
That's exciting. I was actually at the bar for the most part with one of my good friends, Mike Clip.
Yeah, she was drinking pretty heavily. I was sober as a bird, as I typically keep myself.
So later on, I had asked, Mike, if this was somebody that I could maybe pursue, and he was like, oh yeah, he's, as far as I know, he's a really good guy. Those other ones,
as far as he knows. Is that what he actually said? Because when he tells me the story, he says, she came up to me and she said, oh, I'm thinking about JJ. And I was like, you know what, of all those guys, yeah, that's the guy. That's how I remember it. He said, as far as he knows.
The night was over. I needed to head home, and the girl that I went with, she had been drinking, and I didn't want to go home with her. And so I had asked him if he would drive me home.
Again, I was sober as I've ever been in my entire life.
And when we got to my parents' house, I had asked something about giving him my number, and he had said, oh, well, my phone is broken, so I can't, it was not going to work.
Which is usually the line I use on girls when I don't want their phone number, but this time it actually was true.
I was like temporarily upset, but then he said, oh, you can just write it for me. And so I wrote my phone number on the palm of his hand, and then went inside, and then just waited and hoped that he would call me.
I took the number from my hand and applied it to a piece of paper later that evening before I went to sleep. So I did remember, and then as soon as I got another phone, I put your number in it, and then I texted you at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
We dated for a long time before we actually were like officially a couple, and February to June of us exclusively seeing each other.
I wasn't living at home. Like I wasn't, living near you. We were hours apart. How do you really know someone during that time? I think it was an appropriate time to.
Well, I'm glad, because I would sit with Jess with like a pint of ice cream, like for however many months that was, just waiting. So it was at my parents' house. It was a night. My whole family goes. It's a day of drinking and games and fun, and at the end of the night we had a big campfire with all my friends, and my brother was lighting off fireworks, and it was just a really fun night. And we were sitting across the fire from each other, and
I said something funny, and she said, ha 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 ha, I love you.
Oh my God, I love you. That's so awesome. And
there it is. And she claims that was not like a real I love you, like that one didn't count. Because it was just like how you say to your friend if they make you laugh, like, oh, I love you, you're the best. But she said the 3 words, I think that pretty much counts that she said it first.
If I say I love you and you say I love you, then we're in love. It's just love, and that's all that is.
Like it's a math problem. That's how she looks at it. What a cold, calculated soul you are. So you're saying that if you love someone, then you're in love with that person?
No, I'm saying if I love someone and they love me back, it's a mutual love, and then we're in love.
Well, okay, let's think of it this way. I love our cat, Rascal. I like to think that he loves me back. In the mornings on weekends, he lays on my belly. We have a nice moment. Am I in love with Rascal?
I wasn't allowed to ask about getting engaged.
Well, that's not true. That's not exactly true.
Okay, so it's not exactly true.
There were rules, but you could ask.
I could only ask once a day. And and when I say ask once a day, I don't mean that. I mean, if I said that somebody got married or engaged at work, that would be my one thing, because he would think that that meant that I was prompting, asking about us. And anytime that I was watching Say Yes to the Dress on TV, that was it. Anytime.
You had an episode.
Right.
I think that's pretty good.
Just anything about marriage in general, I was not allowed to do more than once a day. So when I just curious, like 5 years, 10 years, and he'd be like, if you ask again, it's just going further out into the distance, so stop asking.
I can't give an answer till the next day.
So I really didn't have any answers. He didn't know my ring size. He didn't know really anything. And I didn't think it was coming anytime soon. Also, I watch our bank account, so if money disappeared, I thought that I would know when it disappeared.
So there was glass on the floor, and I wasn't being careful enough, I guess, and I stepped on some glass in our kitchen, and it hurt terribly. So then I needed someone to get the glass out of my foot. So I'm sitting in our living room, lying down on our couch. I'm on my phone, like texting or whatever. She is on the floor. She has tweezers, and she's pulling shards of glass out of my foot. And at that time, I just thought to myself, how is the person that's yanking glass out of my wounded foot right now not my wife? So at that moment, I was on my phone, and I texted my mom. I said, I want you to help me come look at some rings soon. And then I got about 1,000 texts from her and my sister moments after that, trying to arrange times to go do it. So that's how I decided that I was going to propose.
He said, you know what, Christmas is so busy for us. We're, at my mom's, we're at your mom's, we're all over the place. Why don't we do just a Christmas, just the two of us early? And that way we get our stuff out of the way, and then we'll do everybody else's Christmas later. And I thought that was a great idea. So we did dinner, we did La Salette. It was beautiful, very romantic, walked all around and looked at the lights. And then we got back home and decided to exchange gifts.
Lauren got me an Xbox One, and I was like, well, I think I'm doing the right thing.
And it was so funny because at the time I was like going back and forth. I was like, oh, this is really expensive. I don't know if I should be spending this money right now. And my father was like, yeah, get him the Xbox.
That's right, because he knew.
Because he knew that we were getting engaged. So he was really pushing. He's like, stop being selfish. Like, you have the money, and he's a good. Get him the Xbox. And so I did. So I gave him his present first, and then he had said, I have to grab your present. It's outside. Got to set it up or whatever. And what I had asked for Christmas was that he polyurethane my swing. I have a back porch swing that I love, and so I assumed that he was, getting the swing, in position or whatever.
Putting a ribbon on it or something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And so I said, that's perfect. You go set that up. I'm going upstairs to put my pajamas on. And we had just had this nice date, so I was all dressed up. And he was like...
Pajamas. Get proposed to in pajamas.
He said, well, if it's kind of wet outside, just like the dew in the grass and stuff, and then if you put your pajamas on when we go to bed, your pajama pants will be all wet. Like, don't do that. Just leave your nice clothes on. And I said, no, I'm putting my pajamas on. I will be back in a minute. So I went upstairs and threw on some yoga pants.
You couldn't do the one thing that I asked. Thank God you got me that Xbox, because I don't know if it would have happened otherwise.
But yeah, so I changed into my pajamas. I put on like a big red sweatshirt and yoga pants and boots. And he... kind of like covered my eyes and brought me outside. And I expected to be facing the backyard because that's where our swing is in the corner in the backyard. And when I came out and he kind of like opened my eyes, I was facing the house. And I was so confused. I'm like, what did you do to our house? And just started like looking around. And when I had kind of turned around to ask him, like, what are you doing? There was like a spotlight kind of in our backyard, and it was like misting a little, and it was really beautiful, and he was just there, down on one knee. And after that, I have no idea what happened because I went into actual shock. Not like I don't remember anything he said. I'm sure it was lovely. I really am.
I recited multiple stanza Shakespeare poem. No, I actually don't remember what I said either. I think it was a couple sentences, and I think I screwed them up, but she doesn't remember, so I'm kind of happy with that.
Yeah, and then it was just kind of nice because it was just like us in our backyard and just being really excited and jumping around and just really happy. Immediately I wanted to call my mom. And so I called her, and it was probably like 10:30 at night, and I was just like so excited, and I told her, and I could hear my mom yelling down the hall for my dad so that he could come and listen. And my dad said, oh, thank God he finally did it. Now I can go to bed. And my mom said, what? And my dad apparently has known since Thanksgiving, because at Thanksgiving, JJ pulled him aside, but he kept it a secret from my mother from Thanksgiving to Christmas and never told her. And so
there was a lot of fun stuff that came along with that. Like, there were times where Lauren was talking about, like, oh, you know, when we get married this, when we get married that. And I would be making jokes like, what makes you, like, assume that we're gonna get married? And then, like, her dad would look at me and, like, wink or something, and, like, we'd be laughing back and forth. Well, you were visiting venues like the day after I proposed, pretty much.
Pretty much.
You, like, made them create a Christmas schedule so you could go in and look at places.
Well, here's the thing. When you propose over Christmas, I work in a school, so I have Christmas break off, so I had like 2 weeks off. And then I had February vacation, so those 2 weeks I did a lot of planning. We went and looked at the villa and did a lot of research, and so from all of the places that we found, I picked 3 to bring JJ back to. And so those 3 we looked at with our families, and ended up going with the villa in East Bridgewater. And it's absolutely beautiful. And we found out later, which is really cool, that my second parents and neighbors and amazing friends, Pam and Rob, got married at Ritter's Golf Club, which is on the same property, which is really cool for me. So yeah, so we picked the villa, and I'm really excited. It's beautiful.
I know that we will be together in 20 years, because since the moment that we've started dating or knowing each other even, it's just always been so easy and comfortable and right. And you're beautiful inside and out, and I love you, and I'm happy that I'm marrying you, and I think I always will be.
How do you follow that? That's not fair.